Hey guys, welcome back. It's another Monday afternoon. So in quarantine talk, that means it's time for a live Q&A session. How's everybody doing out there? We are experiencing some potential issues with our streaming software. We use a website or a streaming service called Restream to stream to all of our platforms at once, and they are apparently under attack right now. So hoping it's all going well, but we will just have to stream and see. But looks like a lot of people are getting on. Hope everybody's doing good out there. Carson, Robert, welcome back. Gamborg, holding it down on Twitch. How's everybody enjoying their Monday lock-in? Self-quarantining on Mondays. Made it through. Christopher Ryan made it through the weekend.
Self-quarantine anymore, right? It's pretty much mandated from the power to be everywhere.
It's no longer optional, at least. Adrian, your time is appreciated too. Thank you for hanging out with us. Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, it's a good and a bad thing. I figure this is a way to help us all stay connected, stay sane. It's too bad we're not doing this just out of, because it would be fun to do, or you know, that kind of thing, that we're doing it because the world's crazy right now.
To be clear, I'm just doing this because it's fun.
Okay, Jody's only here for the fun. Hey Steve, how are you doing? Haven't seen you for a while. Hello, Ian. All right, hello everybody. How are you guys doing? Whew, start of another week. Those of us who are US based found out in the last 24 hours or so that this is at least we got at least another month of this. Now through April. That was coffee, by the way. Wrong tube. Nothing to be concerned about. Excuse me. More coffee ought to fix that problem. All right. Hello, welcome once again. I'm Aaron. If we haven't met before, it's nice to meet you. If we have, welcome back. With me today is Jody. Hey, Aaron. Glad to be here. Oh, sorry. I'm filling in for you.
I'm leaving a message on the forum to let people know that we might have some wonkiness going on.
Hi, yeah, there's a...
Is that a dry cough?
No, it's a coffee cough.
Okay.
My last sip of coffee, I started talking as I was swallowing, and it's sitting in the wrong spot. You'd think after all these years I'd have swallowing down, but not yet. All right, hey guys, welcome back to our Q&A session. Generally speaking, we do live stuff on Fridays, but being as we're in the times we're in, we're gonna try to spread that out, do more live sessions more often, a couple times a week. Monday, we've decided to dedicate to question and answer. So what we're looking for here is the kind of stuff you might go to the forum with, like, I don't know how to do this, or can I do this, or what's the best extension for this, that sort of thing. Throw those questions out here, and we will attempt to, together, walk through and find some answers. And this is meant to be interactive too. So if somebody asks a question and you as a viewer know the answer, please feel free to put some comments in there, because sharing information is a great way to learn, and teaching is an even better way to learn. I did create, just so everyone knows, right over here on the forum, I have this live Q&A live stream. It's so live, we had to name it twice. It's the livest. So if you guys want to hop on there.
Q&A live stream.
Let's see, did somebody edit it? I don't think so.
Well, no, live and live is the same.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
So live the Q&A live stream. Come,
yeah.
Let's live it together. So yeah, if you guys have files you want to post for me to take a look at, that sort of thing, we can share those through the forum. If you're not already on the forum, highly recommend you check it out because it is a great way to get information, to share information. We also have a gallery up there. So if you've done some SketchUp work you're particularly excited about, you can post into our gallery. And we're also doing some stuff like we do have a commercial section there. So if you're looking for someone to hire for SketchUp work, or if you are looking to share your abilities as a SketchUp designer, that's up there too. So the forum is an awesome spot. Please do check it out. All right.
Should probably get right to it. There's
Yeah,
lots of questions.
All right, I like it. What's first?
Opening with bad hair day.
Kind of. I think what we're doing is we're entering right now. We're launching into a bad hair month. So over the week,
I saw something yesterday that said there's a shortage of Flobies.
I believe it.
There really are. I'm not just being silly.
Not all of us can have Jody's low maintenance hairstyle. So.
Yeah, everybody actually can. You just might not want it.
Not everybody looks good with Jody's low maintenance hairstyle. So yeah, I spent some time over the weekend inventorying my hat selection. So we'll be cycling through a few things here. So we're starting with a recent addition, which is this. I don't know if you can see it there. Our Trimble beanie. So that's what I got. All right, what's next? Something SketchUp related, hopefully.
The next one is, show me how to make radius corners again. Apparently you've already shown Richard Larson on YouTube how to do this.
Right, so.
You made it so fast in some video, and he has a hassle with that.
I can't promise I'll be any slower. I'm on like my 4th cup of coffee, so, which is apparently ruining my ability to swallow. All right, so there are a couple different ways to do it. This is going to be the easiest. So here, let me make some changes to this real quick, though. We need to mess some things up. So I have something here. So I'm going to say I want a 9-inch radius corner. If I have a perfect 90-degree angle like this, it's pretty simple to come in here and say 9 inches, enter. Then I can grab an arc and go to that 9-inch point. There it
Somewhere.
is. And then pull it across so it turns magenta. Double click. All right, there we go, 90 degrees. Super easy. So that's easy on 90-degree angles. But what you can do is, to save yourself a little time, one is I could just come over here and draw my magenta. I didn't look at the length or anything like that, just draw it in. Then I can select that arc, go to Entity Info, and force the radius up to 9 inches. That's an option too. That is the easier way to do something like this corner down here. Just going to go ahead and put that in, and then I can select it and force it up to 9. Much easier. Works on inside corners too, where you can just come in. All that's really important here is that you get that magenta. That does snap to the magenta, which is tangent to both ends. And then when you place it, then you can just come back here, select, and change it to whatever you want. Say I want this bigger, I want this to be 12, I can do that. So that's the easiest way to do it, is to get it in there first and then go back and select it. Now that only works as long as this is not broken. If anything causes this curve to explode, where this is now segments, I no longer can come in and change the radius because it's not an arc anymore. So as long as it stays one piece, a solid arc, I can come back whenever I want and change that radius. As long as it stays like this in 2D. The second I do this, just to show this. Oh, never mind. Works perfect.
Whoa. Wait, I think I just learned a new hack.
I didn't think that I think that did not used to work. I don't know, sages, help me out here. Did I learn something? Has something changed? I thought that couldn't happen, but I meant to say, look, it works perfect.
That's kind of awesome, actually.
That is super awesome.
Whether you teach or not, I learned something new.
You guys may be seeing this in a skill builder in the not too distant future. Awesome. So there you go.
Okay. Right. Okay. So There's a couple of questions here that are both sort of in the spirit of something we couldn't get into well here. First one is, how do you get a door in SketchUp, which is 3D warehouse question, and then also, my computer's slow. They want some advice on speeding up their computer.
All right.
Both of those, first one of those is search the 3D warehouse, and the second one is ask on the forum. But you can elaborate if you want.
No, I think that's great. Doors, I would start on the 3D warehouse, download them, modify them as you need, and then put them in. If you want to build them from scratch, go for it, save them as components. Once you put it into your model, it gets saved over here as a component, and then you can drag it in anytime in the future. Just grab it and bring it in, that sort of thing. But 3D warehouse is a great spot to start with for anything that is going to be like a repeat use in your model. Import that as a component and use it over and over and over again. Just to throw out there, to expand upon what Jody said, for my computer's not fast enough, there are so many, I think the Sages on there can actually point you towards the old Sage site where they had, what was it called, like the clean modeling guidelines, or I can't remember, something like that.
I don't remember.
But there's a lot of things to do. One is to use components. Components that are reused will eventually take up less space in your model than groups that are reused. A big one is to come up here to your model info under statistics, and this button right here, purge unused. Every time you import a component, whether it's from the 3D warehouse, from your own computer, you bring it into your model. When you look at it, like so if I do this, I'll go to 3D warehouse, and I'm going to go look for a couch, and I'm going to grab this couch right here. I'm just going to download it right into my model. All right, there we go. Whoa, I don't like that couch. It's a big couch. So I get rid of that couch. That couch is no longer on my screen, but it is still saved in my model. If I come over here to look at the components that are in my model, currently Laura, this chunk of fence, and that couch, even though I deleted it, is still part of the model. So when I save, this file includes this couch. So to get rid of it, I do have to go to, that's where I go to Window, Model Info, Statistics, and I can click Purge. And watch what happens over there with my couch. It disappears. Purge Unused says anything you got. Empty scenes, empty tags, empty not scenes, unused styles, components that aren't used. Anything that is not currently in your model will get thrown out. So that's a big one because a lot of people don't realize that, and they just put more and more stuff in. I've even seen people who have templates. Nothing's on the screen, but they have like 100 components loaded because they hit Save Template after going through a bunch of stuff from the warehouse. So that's a big one. Make sure you purge your model, get rid of all that extra junk.
Okay, Dennis on Facebook wants to know if there's a way to draw walls with an offset.
There are several ways to draw walls, and unfortunately it's one of those, there's not one way to draw walls. It really all comes down to what you want to do. Generally speaking, if I'm going to go in and draw a house, I'm going to draw a quick outline that maybe this is what the footprint of my house looks like. Say I have something like this. All right, so that's my external dimensions. So what I would generally do is get that in first, then I would grab my lines and do an offset of 6 inches, 5.5 inches, depending if you're looking for your frame width or your finish width, whatever that is, and then pull this up in a 3D space to whatever my wall height is. Then grab all of these and make those into a group. And then I'd maybe tag those with something like exterior walls or something like that. What this is going to do, this right here is going to allow me to toggle on and off my exterior walls. This doesn't work if I'm going to do things like if I want to get a report on each individual wall, if I want to actually see if I'm going to fabricate wall panels or something like that. this isn't going to work because this is just going to give me all my walls in one thing. This is how I would probably go about it. Interior walls gets to be a little bit different. So one of the things I would do with interior walls as I work through here is I would probably, pull them out maybe one at a time. They would come out in smaller pieces, that kind of thing. I guess I'm kind of tap dancing a little bit because I'm not 100% sure what does it mean to build walls with an offset. I'm assuming you're talking about building both sides at the same time. And that could be done like this, like it just showed. If I come in here and break this again, I can pull this geometry. So this is one way to account for that offset, is to pull the 2D shape into 3D space. Another thing to look at is Profile Builder. Profile Builder is a extension you can have where you actually set up three-dimensional extruding components. You actually say, here's what a profile of my wall looks like, and then you can actually pull that line of wall along a reference line. So you can actually go in and draw it in, and you can have everything. It could be from the framed wall with the sheathing on the outside and a plate and a footer down below. All that could be one thing made up of a bunch of different pieces, and you just pull that in a single line. So Profile Builder 2 is worth looking at if you do a lot of wall work. So I don't know if that exactly answered your question, but like I said, I was a little bit confused about exactly what you were looking.
That's how I interpreted it too.
Okay, good. Hey, Jody said I nailed it.
So that's a good segue into, there's a handful of people now asking. One of them was name some important component or some important plugins. Someone else said, what are some important plugins for architectural students? Oh, that's the same person twice. Oh. But I was going to say,
way to bump your numbers.
We were yeah. On Wednesday, we were talking about doing a plugin, like letting that be kind of the focus. What, right?
Yeah. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe tomorrow will be some top extensions.
Well, tomorrow's Tuesday. But
or the day after tomorrow. We'll see. Whatever works.
Whatever. Yeah. I mean, you don't need to get too particular about it. So I would say probably any of these plugin ones, maybe we can put a pin in and come back to.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, come back Wednesday and we'll run through the top extensions and specific extensions you have questions on. We can dive into also.
So, any news on Basecamp?
Nothing right now. We at this point we are evaluating and trying to figure out what our best plan is. I know it kills me too. I want to have an answer one way or the other, but at this point we still don't have it. We got to figure out it's a bummer if Basecamp was in June, I think it'd be pretty easy to make that call. Unfortunately, it's just far enough out that we're really not sure what's going to be happening when Basecamp comes around. So we're working on it. We have a group at Trimble who is dedicated to figuring out what the plan is, making the best plan, and making it happen one way or another, whether that's now or later or whatever. But yeah, unfortunately right now, still not sure what it is. We're still moving forward as if we were going to still have it in September, but the final plan is still up in the air. I wish I had a better answer for you. I honestly do. I mean, anybody who knows me knows that Basecamp is one of my favorite things in the world, and it is such a bummer to not be able to know what's going on. So, thank you.
I think that's a very stressful topic.
Yeah, I got to sign off now.
All right. Dave Johnson on YouTube wanted to know, or he said, Push-Pull's losing a face on the back side. He's aware of the control modifier to make a new surface. So I think he's wondering why sometimes Push-Pull doesn't remember a face. I don't know if I've encountered that.
What could be happening, this is one of those things that's always, it can be hard to duplicate. I think it might work here. If I grab this face and push-pull it up, look what happens on the back side. See that? So the face it's creating is being canceled by this. The reason it does this, let me show you this. So the reason it does this as I pull this up is it assumes, hold up. It assumes that as I'm pulling this up, it's going to be joining with this shape over here. So it is possible if you have a situation like this, you're not getting a backface because it's assuming it's trying to meld with that other geometry behind. Again, I'm guessing. There's a lot of conditions around this. But I would guess if you look at your model when that happens, you probably have a plane that exactly coincides with the location of that missing plane.
Or now you don't have a plane. Or
Right.
No,
You
do,
had
and no circle.
at the
Yeah.
start of the push-pull. Yeah.
Okay. Why do I sometimes get a dashed line that won't snap to tangent?
I need more words.
Let me see. Do they need to be English words?
Well,
Do they need to be related to this question?
I just need to know what you're doing when you're experiencing that situation. Like,
Yeah, this is the problem with being 10 minutes behind on the
I know,
questions I'm reading.
I know.
I'm gonna speed through here. How do you make an arc concave or convex segment between two circles? Seems to me like kind of like doing a radius curve you just did.
Yeah,
Tangents.
what I personally do is I end up usually finding 2 points, so maybe midpoint to midpoint like this, and then doing that, or snap to endpoints like that. So I know it's not the perfect answer, and I have a feeling if what you are getting at has to do with finding tangent, there is an extension, which I think is called Make Tangent. Dave's on. Dave might know the exact name of TIG's extension for finding tangency. When I create a circle with a certain number of sides. This is 24 sides right here. When I create that, these points are on that 24, are on the actual radius length. So this length from this point to this point are the exact radius length. But as you can imagine, right here, the radius actually bulges out a little bit. So if the question is about finding tangency between points to create those arcs to make multiple circles go together, TIG has an extension. I think it's TIG. I don't know. Like I said, hopefully Dave chimes in and tells me what I'm missing. There it is. True tangents. True tangents from TIG will actually look at the actual location of the circle based on the radius and help you to figure out where those pieces meet. So if that's where that question was going, check out True Tangent Extension.
All right, so I'm almost current. I'm only 3 minutes behind. And as I went through all those, there's a lot of questions about rendering. Recommended renderers or good renderers for Mac OS, or what is a way to make my model faster when I'm rendering? Why does SketchUp crash when I'm rendering? Do you have any just wisdom you want to throw out there about rendering in general?
Rendering's hard because didn't I put that on the list with politics and religion?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some would argue it is a religion.
That's yeah. Rendering's tough because first off, people have their own render that they like, and telling them that their render is not the best is like telling them that their kid's ugly or something like that. So it's really hard to say what is the best renderer. I would guess that there's probably a new topic forum every day started on rendering, at least one. Hold on just one second.
Yeah, it's a hot topic. Not like the clothing store.
There's a spider on my camera. I had to deal with that. It's so real. So it's hard to say what is the best renderer to use. You can. That's right. That's what I said. Sorry, K. Brooks. So I would say if you know somebody who already uses a render and they can show you what they like about it, that's good. Generally speaking, one of the big pieces with rendering comes down to is price. There are renderers out there that you can get for a few $100s. There are renderers out there you can spend thousands of dollars on. So it really depends. If you want to go top of the line, you can look at things like Lumion or V-Ray, but there's cheaper, even free renderers out there like Kirky Thea that you can just get your feet wet with. And then there's a bunch of stuff in the middle. What's that?
Everybody should use everybody should use Kirkathea just because then there'll be that many new pronunciations of that word.
Oh my gosh. I've tried to use it too. I know there's some people who are on the forum, and actually some people who are in the chat today who actually use Kirkathea, which is a new, it's a free renderer. I've never been able to do much with it. It's a little too much. Sebastian is saying he's used Shader Light, Thea, V-Ray, and Twinmotion. So I've not used Shader Light. I've used Thea, V-Ray, and Twinmotion, and they're all good. Is Twinmotion still free right now?
That's a good question.
Because it was. It was free. Brighter 3D is also good. And
yeah, it didn't
Enscape.
say anything like on their front page or anything. So
Okay, it was free
know.
for a while there. I wasn't sure. But yeah, unfortunately, the nice thing is that most renderers have a grace period where you can try it out for a certain amount of time. So it's like, you know, what's best? Well, I don't know. It depends. What do you want to be best? I'm sorry I don't have a flat answer, but it's like I said, we could spend an entire one of these sessions talking about what people like best about their renderer. But yeah, try it out. Try out renderers. Find one that looks like it's in the price range you want to spend, and give it a whirl and see if it's going to work for you.
Go to the forum because it's popular. It's a popular topic.
There's no lack of opinions on the forum. That is true.
So here's one that gets a little more theoretical. Why is there a back face and a front face? Why the distinction?
As far as I know, front and back face just goes back forever. That's just kind of the way 3D models have been made, is there's an inside and an outside of faces. So I don't know how that all works, but it just kind of is the way it works. There is a difference because a lot of it comes down to rendering too. So if I look at this shape right here that I created earlier, these faces right here are going to be treated like actual physical faces. So the light's going to hit them. They're going to get textured, that sort of thing. These faces right here will be treated either potentially as totally black faces that reflect no light, or possibly as see-through, where they're just not taken into account at all. So proper faces mean they're going to actually show up correctly. Inside of SketchUp, faces have a lot to do with solids. So if I grab this and I triple click and make it into a group, this is not a solid group because obviously it's got a huge hole in it. Whereas if I come through here and I do this and get rid of these extra lines, now, whoops, and I have to reverse that face. Now this has become a solid group. So I can actually use solid tools or that sort of thing on it. It's ready for export for printing. So that's kind of what the difference is between an inside and outside face. As far as why, like I said, that almost feels like we're going back to the origins of 3D modeling on the computer potentially. I don't really know why there's been a difference between insides and outsides.
As my dad would say, because I said so.
That's the answer. Jody's dad said so.
Yeah, my dad's a big 3D modeler.
I do. I want to hop back real quick because somebody did ask a question that I wanted to touch on, and that was, why is Follow Me so sensitive?
Okay, as I was going to say, there's that one, and there's also someone looking for Follow Me tips and tricks. So
all right, here's two Follow Me points I will make right now. If I want this shape to follow along this line, when you first come in, everybody does this, including myself, is you come in and you try to do this thing, right? And I have this really clear, whoop, there it just jumped, and pain in the butt, don't do it, don't ever do that. What you always want to do with Follow Me is start by selecting the lines you want this shape to follow. Select the lines first, then go to Follow Me, and then pick on the surface. Always pre-select. I know you don't have to. It gives you the option of dragging along, and I don't know if that was just a thing that kind of looked cool, so that's why that got put in there, but pre-select your path first, because then that jumpiness or the sensitivity or whatever just goes away. As you can think, as you're moving your mouse along while you're pulling like this, what it's doing is watching the closeness of the tip of your cursor to any existing geometry. So as I come near different geometry, it's going to start jumping around and doing weird stuff. So you don't want to rely on your absolute precision and being within a pixel of the line to have it perfect. Pre-select the surfaces first, or pre-select the lines first, and then choose the command, and then choose the surface. The other thing this is the biggest tip that I can give is, so I'm going to make that same shape. I want this to follow these lines. So the first thing I'm going to do is double click this surface and make it its own group. So now it's in a group, right? So now, I'm not going to go back on what I said before. I'm going to start by pre-selecting my lines. I'm going to click follow me. But when I come over here, I get the little anti symbol on there. See, no follow me here. What I can do though is I'm still inside of follow me, right click, edit group, still inside of follow me, click here, and now I'll go to select and exit the group. And what I just created was my new follow me shape, but it's in its own group. One of the things that can happen with follow me is once it creates all that new geometry, and this is a real simple shape, this only gave me a couple edges, but if I had a real, fancy crown molding shape or something like that, and it immediately joined with all my wall geometry, it can be hard to back up. So grouping it first means that once I do this, my baseboard or my wall geometry, my overhangs, or whatever it is that I used to follow around is now its own group, and I can selectively explode that if I want to, or just keep it separate like that. So that's an option. So that would be my number one tip / trick for follow me.
Thanks. That's a good one.
Thank you.
A couple of good ones, actually. So Brooke Olson's asked a couple of times, how do you model mid-century modern chairs? This is it's kind of tricky. There's a bunch of people are asking how to model this and how to model that. So you can try and dig into this one. You could also try and model a teacup, as someone asked. Or someone's also asking how to create a ramp with a slope of 1/8 with different heights of 3 meter and 2.5 meter respectively.
Okay.
Some of these are very specific requests. So
all right, I'm going to knock a couple of these out real quick. Mid-century modern chair, one piece at a time. That help? No, but for real, do me a favor. If you have a picture of the kind of chair you want to model, put it on the forum right now in the thread we're working in right now, because we are always looking for models to do on our Friday live model. So if you have some good images that we could model from, throw them up there, and maybe that'll be, actually I can say that we'll do a model on that in the next couple weeks. So that's absolutely something we could do. If you are going to go about doing furniture, that sort of thing, I would take a look for different tutorials on furniture making. One of the problems people have with getting help on modeling something is they try to get real specific like that, like a mid-century modern wood chair. Whereas if you said something like, how do I model a wood chair, you might actually find some videos of people showing how to make the different pieces, that kind of thing. You might reach out to on the forum too. I know one of our sages who's on here, Dave Richards, is a woodworker, and I know he's modeled more than one chair in SketchUp, so he would definitely have tips. I think, I don't want to steal his thunder too much, but I think a lot of it would come down to modeling it in pieces as it would be created and using components. So that's my two-part question. Post it and ask for help on the forum.
Yeah, it's definitely elaborate enough to warrant an entire 2 to 3 hour session.
Yeah, and that would be great. I mean, like I said, if it has good pictures, that sounds like an awesome model to work on. I know you had two other questions already thrown out there. Teacup. Watch this. I'm just going to do a teacup. I'm going to grab a circle, throw it on the ground. I'm going to go to the center.
You should make it short and stout.
What's that?
Oh, that's a pot. You should make it short and stout.
That's teapot.
Oh, that's a pot though.
Yeah. I'm going to draw a rectangle on just the radius, so from the middle to one edge. And then what I'll do is I'll draw a shape of what my teacup's going to look like here on this piece of material. And I'm going to start let's go like this. I don't want to get rid of that much stuff. All right, so that's the start of my shape here. I'm going to grab an arc, put a tangent arc here, put a tangent arc here, tangent arc here, and then maybe right here, we'll do a half circle, maybe something like, this is not going to be a pretty teacup. It's going to, actually, okay, this might be made out of styrofoam. All right, once I have that shape, then I can just grab this line, say follow me, click this, and there we go. This isn't exactly what I was thinking it was going to look like, but it's something.
I might have to kick Titus off the channel. He's asking how to model a Mobius torus.
I did a Mobius strip once. Does that count?
Sure. Let's see. I'm just kind of scrolling past the big 3D modeling.
Well, then there's one other question, wasn't there?
So the last one was making a ramp.
Oh, a ramp. So here
it has a rise of 1/8.
Right. Here's what I generally do if I'm trying to come up with a specific. I do this for roof pitches too. Is I just get a reference pitch basically. So if I want to do a 1/10, I'll come over here. I'll draw a line for 10. 10 what doesn't even matter. Let's do 10 feet because it'll be easier to see. And then I'll go up. So on the blue axis, 1, and then draw a line back. So this top line right here, that is my reference. So once I come over here and I want to draw the ramp, maybe the ramp's like 100 feet long, I can hover over this top line, and then as long as I'm tangent like that, as long as I stay in that purple, I can go 100 feet. There we go. And then that will give me that ramp at the same angle as that. So just draw over whatever your run is by your rise. When that line draws back, that's the line you want to copy or reference as you draw your sloped surface. So I know there's other parts of that question, but that's the part that I got out of it.
Yeah, that's a good part. I think there's maybe, I mean, it's also rising one corner slightly more, so the whole thing is a bit off. But I think what you just showed there probably covers a lot of that pretty well. So a couple people asking, or maybe the same person asking multiple times for Linux version. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, though nobody really likes the answer to this. I know that it's something we've talked about or has been talked about. Right now, we have somewhere in the version of 30 to 40 million people using SketchUp between Mac and Windows, and we support 2 different operating systems in development for that. That's a lot of seats. I know there's a lot of Linux users out there, but this is my personal experience, and this is actually information from when I didn't work at SketchUp, but I remember somebody ran a poll. How much would you be willing to pay for a Linux version? And I think the average came back around $20. So I don't know if that number is still true right now. And I know our senior product manager is actually a big Linux fan.
Well, I think you're omitting because this is what his stance is on the Linux version is we have a web version largely because it now lets people on Linux be able to use SketchUp because you can just put it in a browser and use it.
That's true.
And I think that's probably the extent of what we'll ever see for Linux.
Yeah. The problem is it's just such a big commitment to support an entire operating system. You know, it multiplies out all of production and testing by a whole nother factor. So it's a big deal.
So now I'm down to people talking about what you're already working on. I don't have good answers there. Oh, here's a good one for you though. Make more tutorials.
Oh,
it's a request, not an order. So this is a chance for you to advertise. Plug
Okay.
your plug your stuff.
So here's what we do right now. So we do have a formal learning section. If you go to our website, or if you go to learn.sketchup.com, you can get to our formal tutorials. And we have something like, what is it, like over a dozen hours? Do you know how many hours total is on there, Jody?
On Learn?
On Learn. There's 6 classes.
Yeah, I'm gonna say probably close to that. Yeah, and those are all directed, like it's an actual each class is an actual process from beginning to end to learn a new concept,
So that's the
which makes
spot.
them special.
Those don't come out regularly, but they're far more produced. They're very accurate. It's very step by step, very easy to follow. So learn.sketchup.com is one great place to do that. The other spot to get tutorials is our YouTube channel. I happen to know that we have around 850 videos available through that. We released at least 2 learning videos every week. We do a skill builder on Tuesday and an extension inspection video on Thursdays. And right now, for at least the next month, we're doing 3 live streams, anywhere from 1 to 3 hours every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as well. So no, I won't do more than that.
I think it's quite a bit.
Sorry, I'm saying that tongue in cheek. I appreciate it. We try to make as much as we can. I think I was making my schedule up for this week, so I do have 3 live streams, and I think I'm on the hook for 7 other 10-minute videos beyond that. So I'm doing them as quick as I can get them out.
So I have one post here that someone, Ruggy, is trying. I don't know if he's trying to bait us. He wants to know which is better, SketchUp or Rhino. Seems like the wrong place. It's like bringing a knife to a gunfight. You're asking the wrong crowd if Rhino's better than SketchUp.
Yeah, we're pretty biased around here, I'll be honest.
Since I didn't ask it, and since you didn't answer it, he thinks that it's basically backing out of the fight. So just want to be clear. Do you have any thoughts of Rhino versus SketchUp?
I mean, I'll say the same thing I've said before, and I apologize if you're a regular follower. I'll make this brief, but I am a huge fan of a collaborative workflow. I don't believe there's a single software out there in any workflow that does it all. So I think there's room for multiple software packages if you need them. If you need a software, you need the software. So we have plenty of users who use both Rhino and SketchUp. So if you need both, you need both. If you want to justify just one of them, then it's really what's going to work best for you in the workflow that you need it for. I'm an advocate for SketchUp, and I have been since before I worked here at SketchUp, because I like the simplicity, the usability, the learnability of SketchUp. So I will always push people to try SketchUp, push SketchUp to its limits, to do as much as you can in it. But if there's something in Rhino that you absolutely need to get your work done, then that's something else to weigh in as you try to figure out what the best software is for you and your workflow.
All right, so let's get back into SketchUp.
Let's.
Blake wants to know what's the best way to deal with section cuts inside of scenes, i.e. each scene has a different cut.
When you look at scenes, down here, active section planes is part of it. So let's find a 3D thing. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to put 2 section planes onto this area right here. Grab one, I'm going to put it right here. Oops. I'm going to move that in, and I'm going to save this as my first scene. All right, now I want to deactivate this section. So I'm going to go to my outliner. Outliner is the easiest way, because I can just right click and I can say deactivate cut, and I will hide that.
It's worth saying now that in 2020, the outliner got a lot better.
Yeah.
Gooder.
All right, and now I'm going to grab this one, push it in, and save this as a second scene. And now, when I flip between these two, it's going to switch between the 2 different views. If that's what you're asking about, it's really pretty easy. If you've already got the scene created, you can go in and add the section cut that you want. Just make sure you right click and update your scene after you add that section cut.
Oh my gosh, I'm almost to the bottom. I'm almost to present time. JD Cam C wants to know how to change the color of a texture in the Mac version. Like if you have a white brick texture and you want to make it green.
I happen to have the Mac version right here. I'm going to go grab just a stock material. Oh, hey, look, here's brick. All right, so we want to take a white brick, is that what we said? And then we want to make it something different? Oops.
Yes.
All right. So what I can do is go home. Here's my material that's in this model. So this is not part of the library. This is what's in the model right here. If I double click on it, that's the process. So here's the steps. I have to walk myself through it because I always forget how to do this. Not that it's difficult, I just don't do it very often. So you want to go to your home tab. Don't do this from the library. So I don't want to do it from in here, but I want to do it from what's in my model because I'm going to affect what's currently stored inside my model. So I'm going to double click on this, and then while it's selected, it'll come up here with this edit material screen down at the bottom. And now I want to come over and switch to, in this case, my color compass. As soon as I get that up, now I can just drag that however I want to change those colors. So if I want a really crazy green, I can turn that. The thing to remember is you are actually changing the colors that are stored in this model. So this model doesn't have the tan sandstone thing that it had before. Now it has crazy green instead. So really pretty simple. Double click and then adjust the colors and just remember that you're changing that. So the main one, if I come back over here to my bricks, this one's still the same. So I can still grab that and put it back on there. But here saved in the model, well, now I undid all that. So just something to keep in mind.
So if you had changed the name, would it have kept that and brought the new one as a new?
Right, so if I come in here, duplicate this, and now I can take this one, adjust it, and now back here I have these two. So if I did want to, I'd come in here, put that on there. So now I have both. That's a good question.
Christopher Ryan reminded us of your hinge, your promise of a hinge.
Tomorrow, maybe.
Wednesday. Nice. Okay.
No, tomorrow.
Like
it's a skill builder. It may be coming out tomorrow.
You upload stuff on Tuesdays. Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe people don't know about that. Maybe that's where it's saying that on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's pre-recorded.
That's right. So we won't be live on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but there will be a SketchUp video each of those days. So come check it out. Like I said, tomorrow I think is modeling a hinge in just a few moments. I think all in, if you took all the talking out, which some people just talk on videos. I think if you took the talking out, it's about a 3-minute process to make a hinge, which is pretty cool.
So someone did follow up on the ramp you were working on before. They want to make it semicircular. Actually, 2 people. Someone else then said sort of similar. What did they say? I lost it.
Semicircular.
Oh, how to create a curved ramp with a slope of 1/8. So 2 different people wanting to make a curved ramp.
So here's what we'll. All right. I don't know. I'm gonna try something. Hold my beer. All right. Let's see how this works. And then I'm gonna pick up this line right here. Put it right here. This does seem like this could be an argument for Shape Bender too. There's an extension called Shape Bender available on the extension warehouse from a developer named Chris Fulmer that does a great job. Yeah, I've heard of him. That does a great job of just and they're not simple. What they do is very complex, but very easy to use extensions. And he has one called Shape Bender that lets you take one shape and basically tell it to follow a different shape. So you'd have a straight, actually I think I have it. Maybe we'll try that after this. I'm gonna make this a group, triple click this line. I'm gonna say, follow me, edit this group, click on it. So that's a 110 ramp.
Yeah.
I did not angle this part, but you could have just as easily, I could have taken that arc and actually turned it up at 110 also. But something like that, maybe, I don't know.
Okay, I'm catching up here.
Mm-hmm.
How can you save, where do you save components so they'll be available in a template? You mentioned that at the beginning.
Sure.
And same thing with materials. Basically,
So,
how do you create templates with it?
Right. So a template file is just a SketchUp file. There's nothing special about it. It's not like there's a, docs have TEMP, I can't remember. Some places have extra files that are template files versus regular working files. Template files are just SketchUp files that SketchUp opens at the beginning. Instead of having an empty screen, you have the contents of that SketchUp file. So you can create one at any time by just going to File, Save as Template. So right now, if I hit Save as Template and save this, when I open it up, all this stuff will be on my screen. But also, anything else I've set up will be in there too. So my material will be in there. Any components I've created will be in there. So my fence will be right in there. Well, let's go ahead and do it. Let's go File, Save as Template. And I'm going to call this Delete Me. That's going to be the name of my file. I don't want to make it my default template. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And now, if I go to File, New from Template, and say which one do I want to do. So these are all my standard templates, but over here we have a tab that's called My Templates. If I click on that, here's my Delete Me tab, or my Delete Me template. So if I open that, brand new drawing, everything that I had before is in there. Here's my fence, here's all my stuff on my screen. So if you think about it as just being that, a template is just a SketchUp drawing that it's going to open when you start, it's really pretty simple to figure out how to do that. So there you go. That's pretty easy.
It's probably worth mentioning that under the window menu, when you go to model info, all of that stuff is model specific information. So any changes you make in there will also be saved.
Absolutely. Great point. My units, any of the information that's in here is also going to be in there. So if you do a lot of models, you upload a 3D warehouse, you come in here and fill out your credits information, that's going to be information in there also. So yeah, all that info is automatically saved, including like your style. What does my style look like? Do I want it to always show up like this when I start a new model? All part of that template SKP file. Good question.
Okay, so this one's been asked a couple of times. Oh, dang it, scroll off the screen. Oh, there it is. Can you pull a blueprint into SketchUp and then draw over the top and create a 3D model?
Yes.
He's asked this a couple times, and I'm not sure if he's asking if you will do that now or if it is possible to do.
I don't know that I have any files that I can show to import right now. And due to the sensitive nature of some of the stuff I work on, I am not going to root around through all my files right now. It's a good way to get in trouble. But yeah, what you can do is when you import, when you go to File, Import, which we can do that. So when I come in here, I have the ability, oh shoot, I forgot. New version of SketchUp doesn't give you the drop down because it just opens the files. But you have the import or ability to bring in a DXF or a DWG file. If you're on Mac, you can import a PDF file. You can also import a GIF or a JPEG file. You can import any of those graphic file types. And when you import them, they'll just be, if they're 2D, they'll just lay down on the ground inside of a group. And then it's super easy to go in and just either make faces directly from that geometry or use it as a reference to trace. If you go to our YouTube channel and look for import DWG or import DXF or import CAD, you can there's a series of 2 or 3 videos that Tyson made a few years back that shows the process where he actually creates a floor layout from DWG drawings. So yeah, very easy. A lot of people use SketchUp in that way.
Let's see. Someone called me Josh. We can correct that. This is actually Jody.
He's the other J guy.
Yeah. Steve probably thought maybe that ramp question was to create a corkscrew ramp. You can try and do that, or we can just move on to the next video.
All right, I'm gonna do it quickly. Don't blink. All right, so there are extensions out there to create helixes or whorls or that kind of thing. I'm gonna do this. I did this in a video series a little while back. So I'm just gonna show you guys how to do this real quick. I'm gonna create a ramp. So this would be my 1 to 10.
While you're doing that, Ian Franz wants a shout out. He's an architecture student. He just wanted to be acknowledged.
Hey, thanks for hanging out, Ian. Ian, you said right? Sorry.
Yep.
Sometimes I read a word in here and then that's what comes out my mouth and said, yeah. Ian Franz, how's it going? Thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out with us. All right, so all I'm doing here is creating a line that slopes up and starts over one point and ends over a different point. Now I'm going to select that line. I'm going to use rotate to go to the middle. I'm going to copy it from one, modifier key to copy, point to the next, 23x. 23 times because I have 24 sides. I'm going to flip to the side. I'm going to grab all that geometry. I'm going to move it, again with the modifier key, straight up. And I'm going to tell it to do that, well, let's do that 23x also, so that'll give us a full rotation. All right, now I'm going to get rid of this circle. I'm going to double click on one of these, triple click. And now I'm going to say, make that into a group. Now I'm going to grab everything, oops, hit Control Z, sorry, make group. Now I'm going to grab everything except that group and delete it. Now I have my shape. Now what I can do is I can come in here, create my ramp geometry. And grab that, follow me, grab my ramp. Whoa, that's an extreme ramp.
Start. Yeah. You have to really build up speed before you start going up it.
Yeah. All right, let's try that again. I think this.
It needs to be 90 degrees perpendicular to the. Yeah. Sorry.
Maybe this will work. Let's see. No, obviously I need to know. I grab that. Follow me. Nah, still gonna do it. So
that's exciting.
What you'd want to do. I'm just excited about this shape. This is kind of cool. I'm going to soften this. All right. It's extreme. You really have to get going. Yeah, you have a lot of speed by the time you hit up here. There's an extension from Enerot called Upright Extruder. What happens with the standard follow me is it keeps the geometry perpendicular to the path it's following. So if it's perfectly flat, like for most uses, it works perfectly fine. Or if you're going around a circle, it works fine. But when you start to get stuff that curves like this, it starts to grab that shape, and in an effort to stay perpendicular to the path, it starts to rotate. Enerot has an extension called Upright Extruder, and what that does is it keeps the shape flat, vertical like that, all the way up. So what that would do is what you're looking for, keep that flat all the way up as it follows that arc. So yes, that was, I thought I could just wing it and make that work, but you will need Enerot's extension to make that work.
It's fun to watch anyway.
Yeah, I like the shape I created. I'm going to keep this on the screen until something better comes along. That was a challenge.
So Caden Wilson on YouTube said when he imports AutoCAD files, it's hard to extrude them. We can talk about that, or also talk about the existing YouTube videos if you want.
Yes, both. So one of the issues that comes up with grabbing AutoCAD files is a lot of times they don't create surfaces. So you can't. So if I just have a series of lines, right? So if my drawing, whoops, comes in where it has this shape, but there's not a surface there, I can't push pull that. So that means you have to come in and either draw a line to close faces and then push pull them to pull them into 3D space, or there's a couple of extensions out there that you could do that. There's actually a video within the last year or so that I made that talks exactly about this process. There's an extension, I believe, and I'll get corrected if I'm wrong. I think it's called Make Face. I think that was.
What if I'll correct you?
What's that?
If you're correct, can I still correct you?
Sure, it seems redundant, but we can give it a shot.
Yeah, I just like to be correct.
You're a good corrector, Jody. That's why I got you here. I think it's called Make Face. That'll actually take those 2D drawings and run through them and try to force any place it can close to give you this kind of geometry. One of the things that, so when I used to do design work, if I was bringing something into SketchUp, a lot of times I wouldn't use the exact lines from a DWG drawing. I would keep them locked in a group and go trace over top of them with my own lines, so I knew that the geometry I was creating was correct. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's up to you. You do it the way you want to. By doing that double check, I negated the issue where sometimes maybe dimensions and drawings didn't line up perfectly, where maybe lines weren't drawn exactly where they're supposed to be, that kind of thing. I could do that double check with my own design work over top of the existing CAD drawing. So your call though. You do what you see as being best. Yep, it is the S4. It's from S4U. It's called Make Face. That's a good extension.
So Jonathan, guy Galliano, I think that's what it is, wants to know if you could go over making a picture from it, or making a texture from a picture so that it looks correct. For example, how to make deck boards as a texture.
Yeah, and I think Dave just said he sent me something.
Oh, you're down at the bottom of the list. Oh, somebody pushed up a mid-century modern chair in the meantime.
Hey.
I don't see anything from Dave in that thread.
Yeah, I think Dave, can you post it? Just drop it actually into the forum. Yeah, once Dave throws that wood here, I'll grab it. Well, actually, you know what? Here's how nutty we're gonna get.
Oh,
it's so crazy.
Like Nutella. While you're doing that, you can also answer Cowboy USA's question about using SketchUp through their NVIDIA GPU. How important is that?
I'll defer to Jody on that one. Go for it.
It's really important.
Okay. Well, the issue, let me just broach the issue as a whole. The issue with different video card manufacturers comes down to their support of OpenGL 3.0, which is what the newest version of SketchUp uses. Is NVIDIA the one that does, which one's preferred, Jody?
So it depends on any given release. It seems like every other release of AMD or NVIDIA cards, there's some sort of wonkiness. Both of them are, for the most part, you're going to be okay if you're using either of those. Those are really the two main 3D accelerators. The Intel cards are designed for 2D stuff. So probably if you have a computer with an NVIDIA, with a built-in NVIDIA or AMD card, you should be making sure you're using that.
Yeah, the big thing, like I said, is the support of the OpenGL. So if you're looking at a card and you're not sure, that would be the thing to look for, is OpenGL 3.0 support for the most recent version. That's 19 and 20, I believe, use 3.0.
Yeah, sounds right.
Make sure it supports that. like Jody said, the newer cards should work just fine.
Right. I've always advised if you basically go back one version, don't buy the bleeding edge thing that just came out, but get the one that just came out last year, and you're going to get all the benefits from it without having to pay the premium.
Okay.
And it's going to be compatible with the latest stuff.
Yeah. All right, Dave shared one of his wood textures. So I'm going to say I want to apply this to a board. I'm going to make a something that is 4 feet by 5.5 inches. That was wrong. 4 feet by 5.5, not 0.5, but 5.5. All right, so this is my 2x6 right here. We'll go ahead and make it 1.5 tall. So if I want to make this look like solid real wood, what I could do is come up here, say File, Import, and then I can grab this material right here. Turn my options on, and I'm going to use it as a texture when I import. This is real important. One of the things that people trip up on the most is they go, well, when I import it, it snaps to a corner or does some weird stuff. That's probably has to do with your importing usage. What is this going to be used as I import it? It's going to be a texture, so I'm going to turn use as texture, import, and now it's going to ask me to place it. I'm going to place it by this corner right here, and then I will scale it up till it hits the other edge like this. Now, what's going to happen when it imports that? I imported incorrectly, intentionally, because what that does, you can see here where it breaks, see that line right there? Because that's how long the texture was. So it got to that point, and then it grabbed this end and put another copy on there. What I can do once the texture's in is I can right-click, texture, and I can say position. Position texture is going to bring up this big tile of this image over and over and over again. So what I could do in this case to make it, I have a couple options. What I would do in this case is probably just grab the green handle, pull it up to the top, which is going to scale it up, and there we go. If I wanted to, I could come in here, go back texture, position, maybe slide it back in the middle so I get all that good, ooh, look at that grain. Yeah, that's the stuff. All right, like that. And that's going to give me that stretched across all the way to the end. The other option, what I could do, if I put it back where it was, that same command, select a texture. This won't work if I have more than one surface selected. It's only if I have one face highlighted, right click. That's the only time that texture will show up. If I click position, it starts off with these colored handles on here. I have move, skew, distort, or rotate and scale. If I right click on them and turn off those pins, I get these white pins. And what the white pins let me do is if I click and drag, it'll pull that portion of the picture to a different point. So what I'm doing here is I took that same image and rather than blowing it up, I actually grabbed it and stretched it out so it was longer. So the wood grain is distorted from the actual image. Depending on what you're doing, one or the other might be preferable. Regardless of how I do that, once I get that to the right size, to save this texture so it'll be reusable, I can just right-click, say Make Unique Texture. Let me pull this up before I do that. So right now, here's the board I have right now. If I click this and I say Make Unique Texture, I'm going to get a new one. And watch this. Let me just show you. That was not a very big change that I made to that, but if I apply this here and I apply this here, you can see the difference. See, this one's repeating. So they're both repeating. This one's only repeating this far. This one's actually long enough to cover this whole rectangle I just drew. So you can see the difference there. Once you right-click, Save Unique Texture, it's going to be added as its own texture into the model. So good question.
Miyaga asked or requested that there be skill builder series for sandbox tools and solid tools. Do you have any? Have you made anything for those?
Well, as a matter of fact, solid tools is happening right now. So I think there's a 3 or 4 part series happening right now with skill builders. I don't remember the exact schedule, and that will be followed by some sandbox tools. So
Nice.
yes, you can have that.
So it's almost like, well, except that Sebastian didn't ask, because Sebastian indicated you guys actually share brains, which
Ah,
is curious. Unfortunately, my first thought is that you guys are both zombies and you just kind of sit around.
I've been wondering where the other half's been. So
Zombies? There's people still talking about the ramp, so let me scroll down.
okay, is it okay to talk about zombies now? We're in the middle of a quarantine. Is that touchy?
I think we've established this isn't a zombie apocalypse. This is a different kind of apocalypse. So I'm
Good,
pretty sure
because
that's
Amazon is delaying the delivery of my crossbow because it's not a necessary delivery.
Oh, I thought it was just because there's currently too many of those. They're just out of stock. Everybody's ordering them.
Crossbows and toilet paper. Survival essentials.
That's right. Speaking of crossbows, which is only mentioned briefly, I did recently start watching the Tiger King. Talk amongst yourselves.
I watched the preview for that last night on Netflix. I don't know if anybody else has actually watched it, but I watched the commercial and the trailer for it, and I'm just as confused as I was when just the image showed up on Netflix.
If it makes you feel any better, I made it through the whole weekend watching a little bit across the last 3 days and managed to finish it. And you kind of feel that way through the entire series.
Oh,
In a good way. I thought it was going to be really, really horrible, but it actually was kind of fascinating. And there's a lot of interesting people out there.
That was kind of my thought, was like, is this one of those it takes all kinds kind of things that whew. All right, so yeah, maybe I will let that one go.
No, I recommend it. I recommend it to everybody. Check it out. I mean, what the hell? What are you going to do with your free time anyway?
Is this
So
like
Richard Backer's out.
Is this like a share the pain kind of thing, Jody? Like everybody else should watch it because you just spent your
Really
weekend?
not as bad. I thought it was going to be bad. It ended up not being as bad as I thought.
Okay.
Which is doesn't sound like high praise, but it was fun.
It could have been worse.
Asked a little while ago how he could shorten and bevel a wall so that he could install a door. The door must then connect to the wall. I'm not quite sure if there's a way to change the meaning of that.
Bevel a wall. So generally, if I have a door component that I want to put into a wall, this is what I do. Like I said, generally speaking, I have my walls grouped separately from my components. So if this is a group, and then out here somewhere I make, this is going to be super quick, but it'll be enough that you'll get the idea. All right, so if this is my door and I want it to go onto this wall, what I'll generally do is come into context here, put a hole, so this is the hole for that door, and then, whoops, I didn't make that a group. And take that and put that onto the hole. Ooh, that was a pretty good shot with that opening. Dang, nice work, me.
You're a natural. You might have a fallback career.
I would like to say that I had that calculated, but that was a total shot in the dark. So what will end up happening is you'll have one group will be a wall with a hole in it, right, like this. And then a separate group is just your door geometry. So I don't know if that answers the question. I'm not sure what beveling had to do with it, but that's kind of where I would go. So.
Okay. Sorry, I can't talk. I can't speak words and type words at the same time.
I know, it's because your brain is processing all the clicking. Jody has the loudest keyboard ever made.
But I moved it away. I've got my super quiet keyboard.
Is that what you were just typing on?
Yeah, I was on the quiet one.
Oh.
I'm just a very emphatic typer.
Emphatic.
I'm
all right.
very I'm impassioned when it comes to typing. Ryan asked a little while ago, could you show us a photo match example for an exterior architectural application? Could you
Um,
model a house or model a building with a match photo?
yeah, probably. Let's go see what the Google has to offer. Uh, what if I say something like building? What do we get? All right, so a lot of here we go. A lot of using photo match comes down to the image. What you want to do when you get an image is get a kind of a 3/4 ideally image. So if you are looking at the building, something where you're looking straight up like this, not great. Looking at it straight on, where you're just looking flat at the side of it, is not great. Anything with huge distortion like this is going to be a little rough. What I've generally found is if I take a photo myself, if I get kind of close down to ground level with the camera, trying to look straight on, not tipping up, anything like that, far enough back that I can just go straight at it, kind of near the corner, that's going to be pretty good. So like this kind of image right here is a decent image. So I'm going to just see how this looks. I will import this. This is obviously on the fly, but I'll go to File, Import, and this time I do want to have my options open. This is not going to be a texture, this is going to be import as a photo match. And I'm going to go grab the screenshot I just took, and that's going to import that image. Did I hit cancel? Wait, what did I do? Import.
Just sit here and wait. Just wait.
Uses texture, desktop. Here's my image. Oh, I use as texture. Dang it. Use as matched photo. Import. And then I'm going to get these handles, and these handles are the ones I'm going to pull onto the edges. And this is why, like I said, it's so important to have your picture taken from the right angle, because I need two good lines that create a convergence. So I want two lines on each face that go narrow off into the distance. So I have that point, so that the whole trick of this is getting these vanishing points lined up correctly. So if I go like this.
I think I always heard the advice of trying to get one on the ground, or maybe it was always one on the top. Do you have a preference on?
Not.
That didn't look right.
No, something's definitely askew. Let's try dropping these to the ground plane. See if that helps. Yeah, this is why shooting from the hip on this particular example is probably not the best thing to do. Showing up with a proven.
Yeah, so there's some distortion. There's probably
Yeah.
wide angle lens or one of those wonky things.
Yeah, that's definitely not. Yeah, I got to bring it way down to make it line up. So yeah, generally speaking, there's actually a skill builder about this too, about modeling from. Yeah, you can actually tell this point looks way taller than that, even for the distance that it's at. Let me try this. I'm gonna totally wing this, but I'm gonna see. Here's what I'll do. This seems less distorted down here. Open Google, find the most distorted image you can, import. What could go wrong?
And then just talk through the whole process.
That's right.
Nice thing is that even though it looks less distorted, it's actually just as distorted everywhere.
Yeah. That is definitely something odd.
Great example, Aaron. This is great.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. Let's see what happens.
Well, check out the skill builder.
Yeah, watch the skill builder. It's a great example. I actually prepped images.
Yeah, that's the tricky part with this one.
Yeah, so this is obviously a lot of distortion, so that's not going to work. All right,
so
done.
Barry asked a while ago if there's a way to only make a change to one scene rather than having to go back and update every scene. if you have a lot of scenes?
It depends on what you're doing. If you add something new to the model, then it's going to show up in every scene. So if I have, here I have, I happen to have 2 scenes. If I come in here and I put something new into this, and let's say I grab this, make it a group, I put it on its new layer called Hide Me, and then I go to my tag and I say, oh, hide that over here. When I update this, it's not going to show up here, but as soon as I jump over here, it's going to come back. So if I do something like that, then I will have to go through each scene then and update that. Ideally, in the ideal workflow, scenes are one of those things that is left right at the very end. You go through and you create your scenes. So that can be kind of frustrating to do that. There's a couple extensions out there. I haven't used them very much, so I don't even know the names of them, but there are some extensions out there that make that easier. Somebody might be able to mess with or to mention those that make it easier. One of the things you can do, and I would urge you to try this in a sandbox model. Don't do this in a production model, but it is possible to update multiple scenes. So if scenes. No, that was the right word. I said tags. I was looking at scenes.
That's right.
You can update multiple scenes. So I can select both of these, and if I hit update right now, it'll update both of them. So obviously if I hit update right now, that would make both scenes exactly the same. Let's go through in here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to scene 1. I'm going to update that. Scene 2. I'm going to come around like this. Update that. All right, so now as I switch between these 2 scenes, this is looking from one side with that box turned off. This is looking from the opposite side with the box turned on. If I wanted to update something, just say like this. I'll come over here, visibility turned off. What I could do is I could select both scenes. I could say only visible tags update. So that's only going to update those tag visibilities. But the problem is, no, that's going to mess with my whole scene overall. Oh, yeah, that's a tricky one. Properties to save. Save all the properties. And then when I update, only update, there we go. Only update the visible tags. I said that wrong. There we go. So now, except I already changed that, didn't I? All right. Let me walk through that again. You guys got to see me think out loud there. What you can do is you can select multiple scenes, and when you hit update, tell it to only update certain items. So if it is something like that, something new added that you go in and turn off, you can update that on all scenes using the update only visible tags flag, and that will only update that. But like I said, just like I did, I just kind of ruined my scenes by playing around with that. Make sure you get that down in a sandbox before you go in and try to do it on your production drawing and potentially squash your scenes. Or there's always revert. I don't know if you guys know about this command, but under file there's this revert command, which takes you back to the last saved version. It's actually a really nice command that people don't talk about enough. if you're prone to screwing your model up.
I don't know about that. But then, yeah, I never screw up my model. That's a lie. Christopher Moore asked a little while ago if you could explain the difference between rotate and protractor. And I'm going to throw in versus using the little grabbies on a component.
That's protractor. See that? I'll do it again. Protractor is going to give you lines at specific angles. Whereas rotate, let me actually take geometry and move it. And to throw in Jody's thing, if I go to move and I use these handles to rotate, those handles, I love these. I mean, I think I said this on our last live model. I love these handles. They're great because what they always do is they always rotate around the middle of a group or component. So I don't have to pick the point that I want to rotate from. If I'm just doing regular rotate, I got to come in here, hover on a surface, pick a point to use, pick the point I'm going to start from, and then the point I'm going to end at. With the move handle, so if I'm in move, it's just pick a point and start spinning it. I think those are great, and as a lot of the stuff I do ends up being, in some kind of a rectangular shape, that makes it real easy to do. So, good question.
So someone has asked a couple of times now about modeling a mannequin. They've looked on the warehouse, couldn't really find anything. Not sure there's a good answer, but
I'll say it's
at least talk.
Anything's possible, but going back to the ideal software for the purpose, if your goal is to create human shapes, maybe that's not the ideal solution. That's where I would lean on the warehouse. There's definitely other software that makes it quicker and easier to make human forms. We've done some stuff with subdivision. I think I did a hand on there once, human faces, that kind of thing. Depending on the fidelity you want in your human analog model. That was a smart guy sentence I just said. To say, depending on how detailed you want your mannequin to be, that might be a rough one. You might spend a lot of time fine-tuning that. So it's possible. It would not be a quick and easy thing. It's certainly not a beginner model to work on. But I'll never say you can't make something in SketchUp. So it's probably the best answer.
But it's not always easy.
Yeah, it's not a. Yeah, humans are funny shapes. So.
So a while ago, when you were working on that door component, cutting a hole in the wall, he's come back with some. I scroll past him now. The question was if it was possible to create a component that will cut through both walls.
Oh no, a component will only go through one surface, so one face. So if I make a cutting component, so when I make this, if I call this a component, I have this option of cut opening, but that's only going to cut through a single surface. It won't go through both. Who had it? Somebody has an extension that will set a cutting depth.
I've never seen that component.
Yeah, it's an extension. I don't know if anybody remembers what that was. There's a couple other extensions out there, things like VisuHole. I think Flex Tools maybe. I think Flex Tools has something. Niraj is saying Hole Punch. So there's a couple extensions that account for that. I haven't played with them enough that any of them has made it into any of my workflows where I regularly just call it out by name. But there are options out there for it. What has one? Yeah, so there's a couple things out there. You might go look up door window openings on Double Cut is another one. Yeah. Face Cutter. That was the one I was thinking of. Face Cutter. But yeah, so there's options out there to automate that process. But a standard glue 2 component will only cut through one surface. That's a good question. Double Cut by Mindsight.
So several people have chimed in on that match photo you're doing, saying you can't use crop photo and you can't use a 2-point perspective image. Both of those are bad.
Yeah, that was not a good image.
I was wondered if you're going to be doing any more dynamic component videos.
Possibly. What we talked about was the possibility of split. The issue we were having is that there's plenty more we could do with dynamic components. But once we start doing series like that, we start to get kind of a drop off in interest because people who are more advanced users really like it, but people who didn't watch maybe parts 2 and 3 jump onto 4 and they realize they missed something, so rather than go back and watching, they kind of just drop it. So our series we try to keep shorter. So what I may end up doing is doing a more advanced series at some point in the future that perhaps it won't be a skill builder, maybe it's some other thing. But yeah, we will do more dynamic components because dynamic components are cool and there's so much stuff you can do with them. It really is neat. My problem, the reason I struggle with dynamic components is I don't have a developer-y kind of mind. I don't know. I don't think about things as far as like how to tell a computer how to do stuff. So dynamic components are definitely something I have to prep for. So we haven't done like a 3-hour live dynamic component video because I'd sit here the whole time going, what about now? What about now?
I don't think you could have made a better sentence than I don't have a developer-y kind of mind to explain why there's not dynamic component videos.
Pretty much sums it all up right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll try to make. I'll try to make more videos. I appreciate hearing the interest, you guys. So I will get back on that, and we'll figure out a way to make more of those.
So it was asked and then seconded if you could talk about insertion points inside of components or reassigning axes. I'm sorry.
Yes. All right. So let's make a thing like this. I'm gonna take this, and before I make it a group, I'm gonna rotate like that, and I'm gonna say make a group. All right. So actually, or we make it a component. That way. Okay, so once I've created this, if I double click, it shows me the local axes. These are the axes inside this layer of the component. Each time I create a new geometry and go in the layer deeper, I can reassign new axes. So this, we're just gonna keep it simple, one layer out. So if I look at this, and if I wanted to come in and start modifying this, right? So I'm gonna come in and start drawing geometry or something like that. It's gonna click to the axes here. So that means if I wanted to draw a line parallel to this face right here, I could do it, but I'd have to use inferencing based on faces instead of just clicking to the red and green axes. So possible, not ideal. So what I can do is I can come in with my axes tool, just a native command, click on the axes tool, pick a point that I want to use as my origin point, and then assign the red axes and the green axes, and that'll move. So right now, I'm just using it temporarily, right? So if I come in here, I want to draw another box on here, now I'm just using the red-green axes and push along the blue axes. Pretty simple. It hasn't assigned that as the origin of the component yet. As soon as I click to leave, it's going to say, would you like to update that? If I hit no right now, it'll go back to this axis. If I hit yes, it'll take this new point that I created and make that the local origin of the component. And you can tell the difference because look, when I click on it, see how the bounding box is turned also? Because the bounding box is aligned to that internal axis. So this is especially important if I come over here to my components window and I grab my box and bring it in. Look at what point I'm grabbing that box by. It's that same point that I used for my origin, for that origin point with the axes. You'll also notice, so this is rotated to the world axes based on the axes here. So it took it aligned inside here. This was my red axes. It aligned that red axis to the world red axes. Here's my green axes. It aligned that green axis to the world axes. So it's important not just what point it's going to place it by, but actually how it's going to orient that. So yeah, lots of stuff packed into that one little simple tool. A lot of people don't think about using it, but the axes tool is real nice if you're working inside components ever.
So Quick Tech, I think just showed up, but he's asked a couple of times. So he's really excited to hear. He said he's having problems cutting components. Wants to know if we can talk about it. I don't know if he means cutting holes with components. I presume that's what he means.
Let's assume so. All right, I'm going to take this and explode it.
Or she. Apologize.
That is true. Don't judge. Don't assume. All right, so if I wanted to create, I'm going to make something like this. Here, let's go like that, and I'll do that. I'm going to take this right here, just this geometry. I'm going to say make component. and it's a cutting component. I'm going to call it a window, and I'm going to create it. All right, so now if I grab that window and I slap it onto a vertical surface, it's going to cut a hole there. If I put it, I said glue to any, so I can actually put it on any surface and it will cut a hole there. Now, if I grab that same window and I come drop it on here, no cutting. Why is that? Because this is not raw geometry. That cut is only going to show up if it can get to that geometry and cut a hole through it. So I don't know if that's your problem. I'm sorry, that sounded rude. Not that you have a problem. I don't know if that's the issue you're experiencing. But the two biggest issues I see is people grouping their walls and they won't cut. The other thing is if you look at my origin. The origin is flat against the wall that I want to cut. The blue axis is coming straight out from that face. That's this blue line right here. See this laser shooting at me in the face? That's coming off of the cutting surface. So if you do something like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab all the geometry out of this, copy it, come out of context. I need some more walls to work with. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to paste. I guess I could have just redrawn this. It probably would have been just about as fast, but we'll take that and I'll put that on the wall. And is it grouped? Not sure why that's not cutting. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now if I grab that again, sorry, I'm not really sure what happened. When I say make component, like I said, the part that this is what I ran into over and over again. When you do this and you come in here to assign your axes, see this gray plane right here? That is the plane that it's going to glue this surface to. So it's going to take that door or that window and put it on like that. If I come in, reassign my axes, for example, and I say something like, this is my red axis. Go to a different point. Go this way, and then, actually I can't change that. That actually works out really well. Never mind. Whoops. All right. So if I come in here and start playing with this, this is where I tend to end up screwing stuff up. I'm really trying to make a mess of this and it's not working. I'm really having no problems.
You're just too good at it.
I hate that.
So, yeah, one of the first things I ever learned was you just create it on a surface. Create it on an example surface of where you're going to want it to cut later. That was probably the main thing that's always made it work well for me.
Right.
I think sometimes people try and make it just like on the ground plane.
Yeah, and it's really important too to make sure that you have glue 2 turned on, because then otherwise cut opening's not available. So if you're having a problem just getting this checkbox to show up, it's because you have it set to none, and then it grays out. So I don't know if that's your problem too, or if that's the issue you're experiencing. Try not to be negative. So that could be it too. Just make sure that you have glue 2 set to any. Cut opening is turned on, and then when you apply it, make sure that you actually put it onto raw geometry, because it's not going to cut a group. All right.
Sorry, I'm scrolling back up here trying to look. Brian suggested you're not being rude, you're being sassy. I think he's probably right.
Just keep me locked up in my house for another couple of weeks. We'll see how rude things get.
We have a new viewer, Jonathan, who was curious who you are and how often you do this. This might be a good time to just talk about what your live stream plan is.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll repeat this. We want to let more and more people know. So generous. Oh, I'm Aaron. Hi, Jonathan. Jody and I work at SketchUp, and we're doing our best to keep our community thriving during this lock-in period where none of us have the choice of what we want to do with our lives. We just have to sit at home. So what we're doing is we're going to start doing live streams 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, noon Mountain Time. That's UTC -6 for those of you elsewhere in the world. And we're just going to do this every other day throughout the work week. Mondays like today, we're going to do Q&A sessions. Tuesday will be something smaller, more targeted. Tomorrow we're going to, or on Wednesday, I'm sorry, I said Tuesday, didn't I? Wednesday.
I think you said Wednesday.
Well,
Then you said tomorrow.
Okay, Wednesday, not tomorrow, Wednesday, we will be doing something a little more targeted. We're going to talk about specific extensions and give some examples of those tomorrow. And then Friday, we do a live model, which is kind of more social, fun. We just hang out for a couple hours and make something, talk, have fun, that kind of thing. It's a good time. Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you watch our YouTube channel, we do release videos. So usually a skill builder, it's about a 10-minute video that shows some aspect of a modeling workflow. And then Thursdays, we're looking at extensions. So we do a little extension inspection video. So yeah, we try to do something each day of the week. And these will be happening the same time every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's the plan for right now. So welcome. Glad to see you here.
And the Monday, Wednesday, Friday are on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube.
Yes, that is correct. We multi-stream. We stream as many spots as we possibly can.
Yeah, someone mentioned Stitcher. Have you investigated using Stitcher for streams?
I haven't. We really haven't had, before this week, we haven't really had any problems with Restream. Everything's worked pretty good. Oh, is Stitcher a platform or is it a streaming technology?
I don't know. Steven on Facebook said he tried Stitcher but couldn't find our live stream.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. That's because I don't know what it is.
Oh, and Jonathan wants a job with us. We're not hiring right now.
No.
We're all locked in our faith.
Right now, yeah, it's we actually had 2 people in our department. They were in the interview process before this whole thing happened, but they actually had their first day working from home. So that was interesting.
That had to be exciting.
Yeah. So no, Jody and I don't have the bandwidth or ability to hire people, but when we're not in a quarantine example or a quarantine world, you can always keep an eye on the Trimble job board where they do post jobs available, including those for SketchUp.
This was asked earlier and then it got repeated, and I apologize that I didn't mention it. Was Amari was wanting to automatically save to earlier versions because they have programs that they need their model to be in an older version for.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the only way to do it is to file save as.
Oh, Jonathan also wanted to know if we're going to keep doing it after the apocalypse.
Yeah, well, we'll just be modeling memories then instead of real things.
When did you start doing them? When was the first one?
The first live model? That's like a year and a half ago. We started doing the Millennium Falcon from movie images. We tried to reproduce the Millennium Falcon prop. And I think we limited ourselves. I don't know if you guys remember how long we did it for. We tried to limit to a certain amount of time, and then it was we did like a part 1, part 2, part 3, and everybody's like, I'm sick of this. Let's do something different. So now we try to make all of our models fit in the period we have available to us. We try usually 3 hours is about as long as we go anymore. Lucas asked a question about what's the best extension to make curved surfaces with. If you go look at...
He had a follow-up about it working on Make, so make sure you
mention
that.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I will negate my answer as soon as I'm done. If you go to our YouTube channel, we had a video posted maybe 2 weeks ago about an extension called Shape Bender. And in that video, I talked about 3 different bending extensions and what each of them are good for. So it would be worth checking that out. It was a good video because it talked about True Bend, Shape Bender, and Flowify. And there are 3 different bending tools, and they all work a little bit differently, and they do stuff differently. So those would be worth checking out for sure. But they won't work on Make. So you do need Pro to use them.
I did go ahead and pet the dog. Amari was worried about the dog whining. Dog actually is trying to get into the other basement room, which has our baby chickens in it right now.
Aw, he wants to socialize. 6
He
feet.
wants to socialize.
6
We
feet
have to
puppy.
keep socially distance.
Nope, not my dog. My dogs are locked up inside, and they're well behaved, and they just stay away during streaming. I'm kidding. There's a locked door between me and them.
Mine are often well behaved, but right now they're both laying down at my feet. I can't move, so I'm trapped here for the foreseeable future.
Perfect. I know there's a mouse question that just came up.
So, but it already got answered. Someone wanted to know what it was, but you could talk about it. They just wanted to know what it was. What was in your left hand?
It also has.
But there's one above about shadows. Where's that? How can I avoid the shadow from normalizing the texture of the materials to simple colors?
That sounds like it might be a video card issue.
Yeah, because there's nothing that should cause your textures to break when you get a shadow on it.
Right, one issue might be the ground plane. You might be seeing ground plane shadows because those are just gray over top. If you look at your shadow options, if shadows are turned on, this on ground, I usually have it turned off because, let me just do this. It can do some weird things like this. Is this what you're seeing? Where these shadows are like covering up surfaces? That's a ground plane shadow. The rest of the shadows, grab this. Let me make some shadows. The rest shadow, they shouldn't turn textures into anything. So if I put my green, it should only darken it like that. I shouldn't see a difference in the actual materials. If you are getting, like, if it's not doing this, I'm guessing it's a graphics card issue. That's just a guess though. If you have examples specific of what you're seeing, you can do some screenshots, share them up on the forum, and then we can troubleshoot it a little bit better. Yes, this is a 3D Connection Space Mouse Enterprise. Use it for presenting in SketchUp because it's so smooth.
So Olivar also asked just if you had a mouse recommendation related to the 3D.
Absolutely. I always recommend Logitech mice. Just they have a wide variety. There's so many you can get. Whatever mouse you get, make sure it has that third button, the little scroll wheel. Absolutely essential for SketchUp. That does all your zooming, so as you roll it up and down, you can zoom in and out like you're seeing there. If you hold down the middle button, it takes you into orbit. So it is a great tool. It simplifies all your 3D moving. The 3D mouse takes that portion of the 3D movement and takes it off of this mouse and puts it over in your left hand. This is kind of nice because it means I can do other things while I'm rotating. While I'm working, I can jump from one command to another as I'm coming in here. It's real nice. Plus, it's like it just said, it's smoother. It's a little smoother. It looks nice. Not a requirement. You don't have to have a 3D mouse to use SketchUp by any means, but it is a nice option to add to what you already have. As far as my recommendation, if you use any software, if you use your computer all day, I can't recommend anything except for the MX Master. It's been my favorite mouse I've ever owned. This is actually my third one. I have another one over here connected to my streaming computer. It's my old mouse.
That one's Bluetooth, and that's the only Bluetooth mouse I've used that actually felt right in my hand.
It's great. It's programmable. Actually, it has 7 different buttons on here, so a lot of shortcut keys. So yeah, I'm passionate about that. I mean, because I think about how much I spend more time with my hand on this than pretty much anything else I have. So yeah, it's more expensive. You can get them from $70 to $100, but yeah, like Joey said, it works well. I only charge it once every week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. Great mouse. So I highly recommend that.
So there's a handful of kind of recommendation type questions. One
Okay.
is PC versus Mac, which is better, and then
Not
also
falling for that one.
They both work great. Most of our customers use Windows, but everybody that works in the office, almost to a person, uses Mac.
Yeah. And really the nice thing about SketchUp is there are some UI differences between the Windows and the Mac UI, but base functionality is the same. So drawing something's the same. Using where the UI is, how the toolbars snap, that kind of stuff is different. But really, it's up to your personal preference. A lot of times that comes down to what else are you doing with your computer. If all you're doing is straight up just using SketchUp, it takes it out of there. But if you're going to do something like we're doing real heavy rendering, or I need to run Revit also, or I'm going to do whatever else, then you may end up on a PC. I don't know. It's really up to you. So.
Don wanted to know if there's a plugin or other technique to improve the viability of a long list of scenes. They don't like the double arrow dropdown. They'd like a double row of scenes instead.
Not that I've seen. That was unintentional.
Yeah.
Not that I know of.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think I've seen any extensions that have to do with scenes.
There was, I mean, there was a couple extensions that messed with, or that show reorganized layers for a while, but I don't think I've ever seen anything that changed the scene UI. It's not to say it's not out there. I don't know of it off the top of my head.
Well, I need some new questions. Someone just mentioned the 3D mouse again. When I use select, I'm not sure. No, there's a lot of
lag. It lags forever.
The select tool.
An Acer with 6 gigs of memory.
So basically their computer is lagging whenever they do selections. It could depend on the model.
Yeah, take that to the forum, for sure. Get on the forum and give specifics about what you're doing and what's happening. That's something that we could troubleshoot that for sure.
Thanks, Mike, for re-asking that one. I meant to repeat that one a while ago. Can you go over how to use intersect with faces versus intersect with model?
Absolutely. All right, so here it is in a nutshell. Oh, excuse me. There we go. It's hiding behind me. All right, so if I wanted to cut this cube in half, but maybe this cube was somewhere weird like that. So if I wanted to, I'll do this. This will be fun. So, all right. So if I wanted to just knock this corner off right here, what I could do is select just the pieces that are affected, like that, and then I could right click and say intersect face with selection. That means only those pieces that are highlighted are going to get cut. So you can see the only spot that got cut then was this corner, which is what I was hoping to cut off, like that. Let's back up. If I had done the same thing, someone's just like, just this geometry, and I'm going to right click and say intersect face with model, that says intersect this with anything else it runs into. So when I do that, now my box broke over here as well as over here. So it intersects with everything. That'll actually intersect with hidden stuff too. So you might have something turned off and all of a sudden it'll get broken. I rarely ever will use intersect with model because there's just too many. One thing, it can take a long time. If you have a really big model with lots of faces, it's going to go through and check the selected faces for any time they run into any other face in the model. It can be a time-consuming process. It can take too long. So I always try to make sure that I only intersect with context. So if I'm inside a group, intersect with what else is in the group, or just be careful on my selection and only intersect with selected faces. So that's kind of the general idea there.
What's the best way or trick to solve a local super zoom problem? You know, when you want to zoom very close and the corners disappear. Sounds basically like near clipping.
Yeah, if you're getting into clipping, that means you're too close. So this basically is my camera going into the model. If you need to get closer than this to something, you're probably best off scaling your model up and working on it. If you're dealing with anything that's so small that your head's poking through, a couple things. A lot of times when people see clipping issues, it's because they're doing really tiny work on a model that's really, really big. Once you get a bigger model, then your possibility of getting that clipping plane increases. So that's where context starts to help. So if you have certain pieces in groups and then you're only working on the geometry in that group, you're less likely to hit that problem. Yeah, it's not there's unfortunately not just a pat, here's exactly what to do to get rid of that. It depends on what exactly you're working on, unfortunately.
So Isuru has asked this a couple of times. I don't quite understand the question, but maybe you do. How to model a net-like structure, like on a diamond chair?
Yeah, I guess that would depend on how much detail you really want, because you could do something pretty simple like this. I'll take this and I'll rotate this to 45 degrees, and then I'll offset. Oops. I'm gonna grab this one. I'll offset that piece. Like something like that.
Looks net-like. I don't know what a diamond chair is, so
I don't either.
I'm assuming that would give me a little more context.
So if you're just trying to make a faux shape like that, it's pretty easy to just offset materials. All right, well, we're almost on 2 hours, so maybe we got one more really good question.
Okay. Let's see if there's a really good one. So I have a subscription one, per Flygare on Facebook. If you're having problems with your license, you should go contact our help center, or contact our support team, or at least ask on the forum. Plugin questions, starting to ask about rendering questions again. Do you want to talk about solid tools? Oh, this one's come up a few times. Doing proxy models. That's perfect. Last question.
Ideal. All right. Look at this mess. All right, let's say, oh, I forgot to put everything down below the ground. All right, let's say I'm working on this nice neighborhood model, and I want to drop some trees in here. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to go find a 3D tree. All right, here, this looks like it will work for what I'm doing. All right, so sometimes when I bring models in, they can eventually slow down SketchUp. Every time I move in 3D space, SketchUp has to redraw the model to the screen, and it can be time consuming depending on how much geometry is there. Things like trees, especially where I have so many overlapping planes and geometry, can be especially taxing when it comes to redrawing what's on the screen. So what you can do is you can actually, Clean some stuff up real quick. Create what's called proxies. So if I look at my components right now, let me clean this up. Like we talked about earlier, I'm going to go to Windows, Model Info. I'm going to go to Statistics, and I'm going to purge to get rid of some of my data here. All right. So now I have this 3D tree. I'm going to say that I'm going to come in here and create a super simple proxy. This is my proxy tree. So I'm going to grab this. I'm going to say make component. I'm going to call it my tree proxy. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, grab this guy, delete it. I can take my tree proxy right now and I could put this in a whole bunch of times. Any place that I know a tree is going to go. And as long as I keep working in SketchUp, this is 6 faces, it doesn't slow down SketchUp at all, even with shadows turned on, which I'm going to actually turn off so I don't lock myself up right here coming up to what I'm about to do. So this is, I used a box for this. This could be a Face Me 2D tree. This could be just a simple image, something that represents a tree a little bit better than these boxes maybe. But there we go. So I have my...
Literally just a line.
It could be just a single line. So these represent where I want to put them. Now, what I can do is I can come over here. I can come over to Components. I can right-click and say, select all instances of my proxy. And now, if I come over to my 3D tree, I can right-click and I can say Replace Selected. So that's going to take my instances of my proxy and replace them with my 3D tree like that. And like I said, these aren't horrible, but you know, once you get like really heavy stuff, it can start to bog stuff down. So what can happen is maybe you do most of your modeling like this, and then I get my scene set up, my view is perfect, this is just what I want, and right before I go out to render, that's when I come in here and I say, Replace Selected, Save, send that out for rendering, or export to layout, or whatever your next step is, do that just then before you're finished. So just something to think about. Proxies are a great way to save yourself the weight of a super heavy model. All right, I know I'm sure I'm excited. I'm glad so many people showed up with so many questions. You guys are awesome. Thank you for coming. And hopefully we'll see you again on Wednesday. It sounds like Wednesday we're gonna excuse me, take a run at some extensions. I'll come up with my list of my top 10 extensions?
Oh.
Did you say 7?
Okay, 10. I said 17.
Oh, no, I like 10 better than that too. I will come up with 10 extensions. They're going to be very different extensions. It's not going to all be the same type. But we'll look at 7, or I said 7 now. Thanks, Jody. 10 different extensions that I really like that we'll dive into. But bring your questions about extensions because we can go look at more.
Sebastian wants to know when we're going to review the bag-in submissions.
Friday. I will do Friday.
Okay.
We're going to do a different model, a bigger model Friday. Last week, I was supposed to model with my tablet, and I totally forgot. I mean... Probably
deliberate.
I'd say it's pretty good that I remember to show up, because I've been having those, where, like, I'm just at home constantly. So I've been doing this thing like, wait, what's today? So the fact that we did a live model should probably be a success. But this week for sure, we will do a live model, and it will be with the tablet and not my Logitech mouse. So it'll be good though. It'll be fun. But that will happen. And yeah, first thing we'll do when we come back on Friday is we'll look at the renders and bag end. So if you haven't already, go hop on that other forum topic, download the bag end model we created. Fire up Scatter, get your best tree, grass, bushes, put them on there, and we'll take a look at them when we come back. So that's what I got. All right, guys, that's it for today. Any parting words of wisdom, Jody, before we hop out of here?
Wash your hands.
Don't touch your face. Ah, dang it. All right. Well, Thank you guys so much. Thank you for showing up. Thanks for asking so many awesome questions. That was a great 2 hours of Q&A. I hope everything's going well. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying sane, and we will see you on Wednesday. Thank you.
See you guys.